This video has major spoilers for this patch. I ask you to watch it until the end before commenting because I have a lot to discuss. And just a small disclaimer, I love this patch, this is not a dispatch review, and this is not a hate video. I will simply discuss the one thing that I disliked about the game, the implications of a bad ending. So without further ado, let's talk about this patch. This patch is probably my most recent obsession in the world of gaming. I love it. It's a game with simple characters that follow certain cliches and tropes, but it all works very well within its world building and story. The rules of this world are basic and the gameplay is intricate enough to present a player with a few challenges. The story, based off your choices, is rich because it is able to be funny, emotional, and compelling at the same time. It immerses the player and makes you question the morality and implications that heroes as a whole would bring to our society if they were real. I finished my first playthrough recently and immediately started thinking of doing this video as a checkpoint before moving on to my next playthroughs of the game and before I do a full review of the game. While you see my results on screen, I gotta say something that really bothered me about my playthrough was Invisigal. She's for sure the most controversial character in the game, but it's not that I dislike her. It's that at first I didn't get why she was so relevant and essential for this patch to work. I ended up dating Blonde Blazer during my playthrough, but I can tell you this with confidence, I never gave up on any of my heroes. I never lied to them, and I always kept a forgiving and warm heart towards every single one of the members of the Z team. Yet I must have done something awful because the game rewarded me with a bad ending, in which Invisigal kills Shroud mercilessly, and the game claims that she failed as the mentor of Z team. And even though I loved the journey that this game took me on, and that I defended Invisigal until the very end, I could not help but wonder, does this mean that Robert is a bad mentor for not doing 100% of what Invisigal wants? Invisigal acts in what I could describe as bratty and a bit too obnoxious at times. Her powers make her able to turn invisible when she sustains her breath, but there's a downside to all of this. She has asthma, so she struggles to properly use her powers in some situations. We clearly see that she instantly gets interested in Robert and that she's extremely insecure about herself, and I don't blame her. She's insecure about her powers since they were made for a villain, as she says herself, but not with these exact words, and it's okay to feel insecure about yourself. That's not something that makes Invisigal a bad character, it actually makes you understand her better. Towards the ending, Invisigal admits to us, the player, or Robert, that she was responsible for blowing off the Mecha Man suit at the start of the game. She works for Shroud until the very end, but it wasn't for free. She was used. She was promised a miracle, a way to heal her asthma, which is quite absurd, and ended up being trapped onto an abusive contract of sorts with Shroud. In my opinion, it is comprehensible that she made that decision of working with him, given the fact that her powers are dependent on her lung capacity and that Shroud promised her that she would get rid of her asthma by working with him and getting him the astral pulse. But despite me understanding her as a character, respecting her, and defending her until the very end of my playthrough, I was deemed as a bad mentor by the game, and Invisigal gave up on our mission with the Z team becoming what we can interpret as a true villain. I don't necessarily dislike this ending, by the way. It's not that I didn't want to kill Shroud myself and make him pay for everything, and I do feel like it's epic to see Invisigal do it herself. What upset me is that I stood my ground. I stood true to the saying that all villains on the Z team can be redeemed from start to finish. I forgave Coupe in the ending. I defended Invisigal against Chase and every single member of the Z team, but the game still framed me as the bad one for not being able to fully redeem her. It just made me question every little thing I chose to do in this game, and I came to a strange conclusion. Was my biggest mistake not falling in love with Invisigal as Robert? If that's it, how absurd is that? I didn't play the whole game perfectly, but I wasn't bad. I leveled up everyone towards the game's limit before the ending. Invisigal was one of my best Z team members, and all of the members' bonds were also maxed out, so it genuinely begs me to ask you all of this. Are we players supposed to romance Invisigal to get a good ending? I doubt it. I don't think so, and I know that's not it, because I know that many players got the good ending while romancing Blonde Blazer like I did. But I think it's easy to understand why me and so many people feel disappointed with getting the bad ending as their first playthrough, considering I specifically never gave up on her. I never gave up on any of my Z team members, no matter how much every single one of them pissed me off with their actions and with how they disobey not only SDN but also Robert in many instances. When I say that Invisigal is considered the problematic and controversial yet one of the most remarkable dispatch characters, I am not joking. It is absolutely clear that she had an impact on the game's community just by checking out all of the discourse surrounding her, but what have I noticed? There's 3 common types of opinions on Invisigal, and they're pretty easy to understand. Some absolutely love her, make the biggest efforts to work around her struggles, never give up on her potential to do good, and forgive her for not only working for Shroud, but also acting in reckless ways that end up hurting Chase, as we all know, and for disobeying Robert and the SDN. Some are pretty neutral about her. They see her as a problematic character with bad actions, while also recognizing that she's just like any other member of the Z team. They're all criminals at the end of the day, and all of them will disrespect, doubt, and fail to work in complete harmony with you, the player, until the end of the game. So why would I be mad at Invisigal when all of Z team's members act in problematic ways? And some really despise her, going as far as labeling her as an abusive person towards Robert. We'll get to that in a bit. Saying it's bad that she's the only character that truly matters for the game to decide if you were a bad or good mentor, and claiming that her actions are inexcusable and much worse than the other Z team members. Me personally, I would say that I respect Invisigal. I like and dislike her at the same time, because just like any other member of the Z team, she's awful in many instances, but also a person capable of moving past her mistakes when she realizes those around her are able to forgive and guide her on a more righteous path. I try my best to stay neutral towards Invisigal because I completely agree on the general points that both her lovers and haters say. In regards to her actions and attitude, I know that it hurts to know that she works for Shroud, and that she was part of all of this mess by helping Shroud destroy the Mechaman suit in the first place. But I wasn't just angry towards her actions, I was angry towards everyone. But I didn't let that break the ultimate goal of forgiveness and redemption for all of the members of the Z team. So I'm pretty neutral about her as a character. But I dislike how she seems to be the only character that matters when the game has to decide if you were a good or bad mentor. Given the fact that they let you decide, that you have to cut someone from the team, either Coupe or Sonar, and that they could also be a reason for you not being a good mentor, if we look at things through a different perspective. My last topic for this video is one that I have to address, because it's the most discussed Invisigal scene in the whole game. The locker room scene, where Invisigal kisses Robert and you decide to lean in or lean out of the kiss. But even though I've been following all of the discourse surrounding this scene before even getting the game for myself, I got a huge surprise when I didn't get this scene during my playthrough. I'm not joking. After hearing so many different opinions and discussions about this scene, I did not unlock it. In my playthrough, she confessed that she works for Shroud, and then she just leaves the locker room. Nothing else happens. So I don't really want to follow my script for this part of the video because I just want to speak freely. I want to clarify that I think that not unlocking this scene is probably one of the biggest factors or hints that the game gives you to say that you're gonna have the bad ending. Which, once again, and I'll say it, it's absurd. It's quite literally awful how it looks like the game wants you to have a bit of romance with Invisigal for you to be a righteous mentor, a good mentor for the Z team. So what I mean is that I didn't get the locker room scene probably because I quite literally never let her be romantically involved with Robert, and because I was, I guess, loyal to Blonde Blazer throughout my whole gameplay. And I don't know, when I started thinking about all of this right after finishing the ending and getting the bad ending, I just thought to myself, now I understand why so many people don't like Invisigal. Many people don't like her, not because of her character, but the implication she has in the game. So you can cut a member from your team, giving up on them and giving up on the whole purpose of Z team. But the issue is if you don't please Invisigal from start to finish. You get what I mean? In my case, I cut Coupe from my team. I forgave her in the ending. I did. But isn't cutting a hero in some way going against the whole purpose of the Z team, given that they weren't doing anything atrocious or anything that went against the team? So wouldn't that be what decides if Robert is a good or bad mentor, and not if you satisfy Invisigal and get her to be a good person? It's also important to note that when the characters pressure you to cut Invisigal from the team, it was not in the same context as the decision that the game puts you through when you have to cut either Sonar or Coupe. So Invisigal was actively going against the team, and she acted in a reckless way that ended up hurting Chase. So cutting Invisigal was not in any shape or form similar to cutting Coupe or Sonar, okay? The truth is that with Invisigal, they were worried and concerned that she might hurt the team, that she might put everyone in danger. Robert does the same effort for everyone, but then he has to go an extra mile for Invisigal to be on a, I guess, more correct path, if that's how I could put it. I don't know. I just couldn't help but, after playing the game, looking at the screen and saying, why did I get this ending? why am I being framed as a bad mentor, even though, okay, cutting someone from the team, again, as I'm saying, could have the implication, could bring you the implications and the overall result that you weren't a good mentor at the start of the game for the Z team. But at the same time, I don't truly understand why we're meant to believe that Invisigal's outcome in the bad ending is the worst thing that could happen to the Z team, and the number one factor that deems Robert as a bad mentor. So my opinion on the locker room scene is that no, Invisigal shouldn't just forcefully kiss someone, okay? Using her invisibility to kiss Robert forcefully is wrong in every single way. It's invading someone's, I guess, personal space and not even giving them a chance at giving you their consent for you to come closer to them, to literally kiss them. I don't like that scene at all, but I didn't even get it. I had to search it up to see what the discourse was all about. But again, I don't think that that scene is enough to label Invisigal as the most abusive and worst character in this batch. I don't really think we should go that far. I think we should have a more respectful and cautious discussion regarding that scene and Invisigal as a character. So I understand that her not being able to properly use her own power immediately gives her this sense of not feeling secure enough in her own body, in her own flesh, if that's how I could put it. And I understand that that immediately makes her one of the most insecure characters in this patch and a very difficult person to work with. But it doesn't excuse her actions, okay? I want to be as clear as possible when I say this. If you decide to lean in, that's okay, because I suppose that it's because you were romancing her, I guess. So I don't really think that in the context of you already having something with Invisigal, that the forcefully kissing scene is as bad. I'm actually kinda glad that it didn't happen to me, given the fact that I didn't even open up a bit of my personal and romantic side, I'm speaking as if I were Robert, okay, to Invisigal during my playthrough. So if I had that scene, I would probably have leaned out, and that would also be something that would have led me to the bad ending. So what I want to say with this video is as simple as this. No, I didn't get mad at the bad ending itself, because I feel like Invisigal going against Shroud and killing him is almost this act where Invisigal regains some of the, I guess, property she has in her own life and her own decisions, and it's also a good service to everyone, honestly. The problem here is that the implication of this ending is that you have to fully satisfy Invisigal for her to not succumb to villainy, and that's quite literally so stupid. This game literally just told me you were truthful, you always forgave everyone, and you did everything that the Z team stands for, but it doesn't matter, you were a bad mentor, and that, it made me really sad, really angry. I love this game, but then it just kind of felt like everything I stood for what the entire game, was for nothing. You see what I mean? It was almost as if the game slapped me in the face and said, why forgive Coupe? Why be good to Flambe? Why reveal to them the truth if you're just a bad mentor anyway? So no, I do not have the perfect answer. I don't know how to get the good ending. For now, while romancing Blonde Blazer and not giving an ounce of romantic interest towards Invisigal, and I'm gonna say this one last time, it's absurd that Robert is framed as a bad mentor for not doing 100% of what Invisigal wants. And Robert, and us as players, just like any other person in the game, any other character in the game, can make mistakes. So no, Robert is not a bad mentor for not satisfying every single one of Invisigal's wishes. Cutting a member from your team can be something that goes against the purpose of the Z team, but it does not make Robert a bad mentor. This was the Muff's ART-CHIVE. I'm expecting to replay this batch soon and then release a full review of the game, but for now, it's not that the bad ending is awful, it's just that it's not fair for the players to hear that they were bad mentors for failing one single person.